fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
A track which needs no more to talk about. It is so aggressive around this place when you have to go and overtake, when you have to go and make everything that is plausible, every move that is possible, every single position has to be thought out in advance. This is a place which drivers know all too well. They raced it last night, they're racing it here tonight, Monday Night V8. This is a very important round in the championship, and in terms of trying to sort everything out, week 8 here means that this is going to be the last chance saloon before the drop rounds start to find their effect. Welcome to this, your Monday Night V8 here on the iRacing Esports Network, and brought to you by a SimSpeed TV presentation. Jake Sperry, Jake Burton here in the commentary box. Of course, the two Jakes at it once again, and Burton the first times coming in this 8-minute long 2-lap qualifying. James Scott, championship leader, on top on a 1:17.925, and it's looking increasingly close here at the top.
That's it, Sperry. Good evening, everyone. Really excited for this one. The Monday night races that we have the night after a Scops round always put on a good show because these guys have just gone to that extra level in terms of preparation, and we can see it already with how tight it is up the top. Just a tenth and a half covering those front 4 cars. I know Dane Warren was pretty strong last night. He's not here tonight, so I still know we've got a lot of front-running Scop guys up the front here.
And of course, Dane Warren, a former Monday Night V8 champion, as Brian Borg crosses the line for his first lap and does not set a representative lap time with that one. Leon Tander moving to 25th position, 28 car grid then for this one, so it's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be pretty noisy here today, so drivers are going to have to be aggressive and aggressive quick, get themselves the times that they want. Someone who is on a very good run of form at the moment is Wayne Burke in the number 8 One Performance racing car, and a 1:18.285 jumps him up into the 5th row of the grid alongside Jake Maloney at this point in time. At the moment, only one driver is out on track and could set a lap time, but he is slowing to a crawl. That is Thomas Hinds at this moment in time. So Burton, this is an interesting qualifying session because these drivers are looking at, okay, well, who's the nearest rival? Who's making the moves at this stage of the championship? The drive to keep in mind here on a Monday night has been Cooper Webster for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's it. But obviously, those who watched the Scots broadcast last night know this, but if you're a Monday night only kind of viewer, James Scott has made his way from Evolution Racing Team over to Altus Esports, and looks like he's managed to find a bit of that classic Altus one lap pace. He's come out tonight and put it on pole, and I think that's actually the first time our reigning and defending champion James Scott has put it on pole this season, so I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Well, that tells you all you need to know of the 14 starts he's had over the course of the season. He's had 6 wins and 13 of his results have been inside the top 5. That pretty much shows you why James Scott is top of the standings at the moment, but he's being hard chased by the likes of Madison Down, who will be starting this one from about 4th position here today in this race. And you've got drivers up who are doing well. Let's get the grid up for you on your screen, though. James Scott is confirmed to have the pole position, even though there is a minute and a quarter left in qualifying. He gets it on a 1:17.925, and he's got the number 2 of Cooper Webster alongside him. Evolution Racing Team are 2 and 3 because Jordan Caruso is up into 3rd position in car number 22. A great qualifying by him, with Madison Down and Richard Hampstead 4th and 5th for the Trans-Tasman Racing Cars. Jack Boyd is the first Valvoline-sponsored car for Gone Rogue Motorsports. They're in 6th, with Harley Haber starting 7th for United. Brady Myers goes from 8th position here, the second of the Altus cars, with Wayne Burke 9th and Jake Maloney in 10th.
Yeah, a bit of a rough night in terms of one lap speed from the TTR cars, but over the page we go. Tom Freer, P11th, with Scott Sislowski in 12th. Lee Ellis, another TTR member there, in 13th, with Adam Briggs and Jack Widdus. These guys have been in some fairly big fights over this season in 13th and 14th. 14th and 15th, rather, with Damian Johnston and Zach Canton, 16th and 17th. Kurt Stenberg in 18th, and Thomas Hinz, our webcam extraordinaire, who we get to see all in the action tonight. Apparently he's made his bed tonight, Sperry, in P19th, with Darren Lobb in 20th.
Well, we'll see what the over-under is for beds made, as 21st will be Jamie McKnight, with Michael Rosenblatt alongside him on the 11th row. Then you've got Clint Shane Smith and Christian Smartley on Tander going from 25th, with Wayne Hewitt, Steve Janssen and Brian Borg either not setting representative lap times or not setting a lap time, and as such they will start this race from the back of the grid. And this is a tough gridding procedure because this car is very, very twitchy when it comes off the line as you head over through the right, Burton. And when you're trying to start a car in the middle to late of the pack and you've got to make a turn before you get up to full speed, that has potential for nightmares.
Yeah, that's it. I really want to see Madison Down get a result tonight. It's been a really rough season for him so far in terms of getting those wins. And the truth is, Sperry, around this track, in this weather condition, these cars are doing GT3 lap times. So they're really, really fast in the corners and are even quicker in a straight line than a GT3 car. So actually getting a move done around here is going to be really tough, which I think is where it's going to play a little bit into the hands of the likes of James Scott and Cooper Webster with that track position.
In terms of positions where to look out for the moves on this circuit at Road Atlanta, you can have a little look into turn 6, turn 7, turns 10A and 10B, though, will be the prime places to get it done. If you haven't got it done there and you're still looking for a good run, maybe watch out for turn number 1 out on track. We've seen moves there before, we'll see moves there ever longer since. Looking for Wayne Burke to get on the grid, or he may choose to start from pit road, but he does get himself up and ready and stationed. Everybody, this is where you start to build up the championship. These results become so crucial, and the green flag drops, and let's get ourselves going. It's 36 laps tonight, and it's a good start from James Scott, but it's a poor one there from Richard Hampstead in the 3rd row, and they're going to jump by him side by side to turn 1. Madison Down looking as well here into turn 1, trying to get by Caruso. That's not going to work. Held well by James Scott going through the opening sections, and there you got Jack Boyd and Harley Haber side by side as they go up in towards turn number 3. All nice and calm for the moment here in the front and in the rear as well. No real dramas to speak of.
Yeah, that's it. It's rare we do get a clean 2 and 3 here at Road Atlanta, so hopefully I haven't put the commentator's curse down, but looks good so far. I think Madison Down is wanting to get past Jordan Caruso as quick as he can, because I think Jordan might have just got a little bit better of a lap in. I'm not sure his race pace is going to quite be there to stick with the front 2.
Well, we'll see. Look how Cooper Webster is immediately on the back of James Scott, looking to try and attack in the early stages. It's former team versus new team at the moment, and of course it's almost like you've got this one happening. Here comes the move to the inside, trying to get this one done, and has he got enough here down on the brakes? And the answer is yes, using gravity to advantage, and there's the position change to the race lead. Cooper Webster goes, and immediately now James Scott finds himself in a former teammate sandwich.
Yeah, that's it, Sperry. I don't think being in P2 necessarily is the worst thing around here. It's a long race tonight. We're doing 36 laps of this place, so getting tucked in behind that ERT car, I think we'll save that Altus Esports Commodore a little bit of fuel as the race goes on.
Yeah, you absolutely will, and this is going to be a strategy race. One pit stop will be required here today at 36 laps long, so keep an eye on this one as the longer this race does seem to progress. But you've got drivers up and down the field looking at positions. You've got Adam Briggs looking to try and find a way past Tom Free. You look a little bit further up, you've got in this train Wayne Burke looking at Brady Myers. So every which way you look, drivers are in this draft pack, and it's going to take maybe 5 laps, 10 laps to really split a few drivers apart and see where the big issues are. Wide goes one Mr. James Scott. He was really locking up through that corner, and all of a sudden Jordan Caruso's now back on the rear, and breathing room is given here to Cooper Webster.
Yeah, that's it. I've got to give our bit of a shout out to our drivers tonight. We've had a few fairly average first laps this season, but that was completely clean throughout the whole field, which is really cool to see. We've got to move down here at the chicane. Boyd down the inside manages to stick it, but Harley's going to drive him around the outside here as they head towards the hill. He's going to have to try and have him clear by the corner, or this could get messy. Squeezes him, Boyd gives him room, and Harley comes off in front. Good job.
Wow, how close is that going to be? Take advantage, why don't you, Richard Hampstead, down at turn number 1. Didn't work. That so nearly ended in disaster, and what fantastic car control to keep everybody in a straight line. Haber and Boyd really pressing the margins, and now they concertina up behind. You can see everybody looking for moves. Tom Freer, a bottleneck for Adam Briggs & Co. At this moment in time, definitely not letting him have any position at this moment. Replay brought to you for the first time tonight by Motum Simulations. And well, get a look at this then. Around the outside try, you can see just getting up on 2 wheels slightly there was Jack Boyd. That costed the run as he goes through in that nice pretty purple there that he's got in that one. You can see here, it's a case of, well, the spotter would say there's an overlap. There just wasn't, and we didn't quite get the best look of that one as they went through. We'll get a second look at this one then as they go on by. This, Burton, is how close. We'll get a nice little slow-mo for how much they're saving it through this section. Bang, there's the contact, and what wheel work.
Yeah, I think that was a little unnecessary by Harley there. Harley had the outside and the run, and he was just coming across Jack to make sure he didn't have a overlap heading into turn 1, but I think he would have had him clear anyway. But nonetheless, no damage done, and fortunately those guys kept it out of the fence.
Absolutely, it's all about manoeuvring an opponent here and manoeuvring an opponent there as you all look to try and battle at the moment. We're on lap 4 now, here of 36, so already a ninth of this race has been scored completed here in the 4 minutes it's taken to get around this track. So now we'll see where all the dramas are going to happen. Drivers starting to splinter off a little bit as we've got battles up and down the field right now as we're looking at Thomas Hinds in the Ratu car at the moment, in the Mustang, looking to chase down the Holden in front, and there you can see the made bed in the background, certainly working well, but the concentration on his face is pretty palpable at this moment in time, trying to chase down that number 19 machine of Kurt Stenberg here at the moment and staying on the train.
Yeah, I think Hinsey must have the broadcast going on his third screen or something, Sperry. I think he saw us just at the last minute there. But yeah, Hinsey will be pushing hard. Kurt Stenberg and him are good friends and have quite a bit of history between them. So I think Hinsey would love to get the one up on Stenny tonight, but Stenny's pace is looking quite good. Of course, Stenny was pretty upset last night to not have been a top split competitor here in V8 Scops, but nonetheless had a really, really good night of speed.
Absolutely, that Super Split 2 race last night was fantastic, and you could not put a fault on the 5 drivers who were fighting for victory in that one. And of course, if you are looking for any replays of any races that have gone on in the past, you can check that out on the iRacing Esports Network. Like, share, subscribe right now. The road to 50,000 subscribers continues right here, and of course we'd love it every stage of the way. Come and watch some of the most amazing sim racing that goes on in this world. So back to the racing action we go along, and it's starting just to spread itself out a little bit. Drivers happily settling into their rhythms right now. If anyone's close at the moment, it's Zach Hanlon at this stage in time here, Burton, because you've got Damien Johnstone under pressure, trying to stay with Jack Widdus, who is very much a powder keg dynamite sort of driver. He certainly does have that wow factor. And there you can see a little push to the back of Damien Johnstone there by Zach Hanlon, and that opens up the door for maybe a half attempt at a run through the left of 8, the right of 9, which runs to 10A and 10B.
Yeah, that's it. Zach wanting to make some positions. A little bit of a bump at the apex. Some might not view it as all cricket, but really wide from Hamlin there. He nearly got himself into trouble on the outside bit of grass. But I actually think, a bit of bumping in the race in the middle of the corner. And now we've got Stenberg chasing Hamlin, and there's almost contact at the apex. Unfortunately, no trouble. But yeah, I think, now Hamlin's going to drive it off the road, and Stenberg's going to profit.
Yeah, and not just Kurt Stenberg. Oh, no, there's contact. Hanlon's gone straight on, and Hanlon's going to go straight into the barriers. Stenberg's been able to hold it, but here comes Thomas Hinds trying to take advantage, and he will not be able to. That was poor sport there, I felt, from Zach Hanlon. He just got it all wrong and got himself out of position for 3-4 corners. Never got his concentration back then in this race. Keep an eye on these battles, though, at the front of the field. First and second, third and fourth, because Jordan Caruso is at risk here of falling back a second behind his former teammate, James Scott. And that would put him prime pickings here, Burton, for one of your former teammates, the legendary Madison Down.
Yeah, that's it. Madison's obviously, as always, thinking championship as well. He's a round down on these guys still at the moment. So Madison will want to be up the front trying to score some points. And I think, as we said at the beginning, I think Jordan Caruso just maybe holding Madison down behind him at the moment. And this is actually one of the hardest tracks that we go to follow someone, Sperry. All of these really long corners and the direction change earlier in the lap means it's really, really hard to see someone when you're right behind them.
Exactly, and that's going to make life really difficult for this one today. We're on lap 7 now at this moment in time, and we've got some really nice scraps just heading up in the field. Freer and Briggs have actually started to close back up then to Scott Zatlowski in the Trick Esports car and Lee Ellis in the Trans-Tasman Racing Machine. He's struggling at the moment. He's Lee in 21 to stay with Jake Maloney at the moment, and that's going to be a key here as drivers drop outside of the 1 second window. They form their own little battle packs, and there you are going to see drivers look to pick up a position here, pick up a position there, but more importantly than that, look to try and maneuver themselves in the pit stops. The undercut today is going to be where the big strategy is, as Madison Down has 1 car length as he enters the backstretch.
Yeah, that's it. I'm actually quite impressed with Lee Ellis, but it looks like Madison Down is going to be on for a move here. No defense from Jordan Caruso down to the inside. This should be a fairly simple out break here. Madison Down, absolute textbook maneuver on the much younger and less experienced Jordan Caruso.
And Caruso there has given up so much time through that section that he's actually brought Haber and Boyd and Hampstead onto the back of the train. So Haber running incredibly wide going through that section. Here's Thomas Hinds now looking for the move, trying to get this one done as he's all over the back of Kurt Stenberg once again. They're side by side in front because Jack Willis and Damien Johnstone battling at it, but not quite there at the moment. Look at Johnstone though, just for the time being, looking every which way to try and get in the mirrors, pick up a line on Jack Willis, but he's not going to move from the middle of the road there. So positions, well, they stay the same for the moment, but you can see drivers are starting to get aggressive here on lap 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we were looking at Hinsey just then, but that was an exact demonstration right there of exactly what I was talking about before. He straight up just missed one of the apexes going down the S's, and it's because it's so hard to follow at close range. If we could get even an onboard with Thomas Hinds at the moment, you'd really be able to see when you're right up underneath another car like the likes of Kurt Stenberg's Trans-Tasman Racing Commodore, it's so hard to sight those apexes. None more so, I think, than down at the chicane down here. So Hinsey's going to get a little bit of a rough down this back straight.
He's going to try and get this run, and he's trying everything. He's not necessarily looking like he's the happiest camper in the camp at the moment, but on the brakes you can see he gets right up underneath, but cannot quite make the move at the moment as he gets a little wiggle coming off at the end, and he's probably feeling like, okay, maybe I need to alter everything and go over at this point in time. Harley Haber, though, is really harassing the back of Jordan Caruso in the scrap for 4th place. Remember, Harley Haber is 4th in the championship at the moment, needs to find some points. He's nearly 400 back at this point in time for James Scott, and this is live points we're talking about in through the left of turn 5. Always tough can always spin it to the inside or get too aggressive over the curb and find the outside wall. It is the devil's corner, some would say. But now into the next right of 6, and Caruso's run through 5 has been enough. He now saves himself for another run through towards the turns 10A and 10B.
Yeah, that's it. I think Harley might not quite have the pace just tonight. He seems to be able to get close to Jordan Caruso, but at this point he doesn't quite have the overspeed quite nail packed enough to be able to make a move. Notice how much Madison Down has managed to pull on Jordan Caruso since making that move. I think if we're looking at last lap by, Madison Down was actually as fast as our lead runners as well.
Exactly half a second lost for Jordan Caruso that last time through, and it's all going away at the final sector because again Harley Haber's closing that one back up again. Here's Jack Widders though in his scrap. Look at this, side by side with Damian Johnstone. Johnstone looking for a way through, big defence, and it's a 4-car scrap. Let's go Noah's Ark Racing here, 2 wide, 2 deep, contact between Widders and Johnstone, and Stenberg's got a nose to the inside. Johnstone gets the curb, but Stenberg gets the run up the hill, and now a 5th onto the battle as here comes Darren Lobb and also James McKnight as well. Contact there between Stenberg and Johnstone. They hold it together. Steady's got the move.
Yeah, that's it. Making an outside move into turn 2 and 3 there, like Kurt Stenberg did, is actually not easy. You need a really big overlap, and now he hasn't got the power down coming off the S's. It's going to be too wide with Johnston. This should be easily maintained for Stenberg as he goes in. Could be an over-under from Johnston, though. Good exit. Going to have a dip into the hairpin onto the back straight. Not quite enough, though, and that's going to leave him open to Thomas Hintz.
Look at the train now behind Stenberg, Johnstone and Hinds and Lobb and McKnight and Rosenblatt and Smarts now onto the back, and if they're not careful, Clint Shane Smith and Brian Borg might be joining in for the party as they're going to go towards 10A and 10B. Johnstone looks back to the inside and go through as Harley Haber here is spun. He is spun. He's had a big spin. He's had contact with Jack Boyd. Boyd's caught his quarter panel and there's been a big shunt. Richard Hampstead with nowhere to go. Here's the replay on screen, and Harley Haber again at Road Atlanta finds himself with no love.
Yeah, that's it. He's just straight up been turned by Boyd there. There's not really much else to it. It's rare that we say Harley Haber has no involvement, but he's taken no blame whatsoever there. He's just been straight up turned, and unfortunately Richard Hampstead, an absolute innocent victim there, has just got caught up. But the man who's profited most from that, Brady Knight.
Absolutely he has. He's now right on the back here of one Mr. Jack Boyd, and car number 6 is now into 6th position looking for a top 5. Look at Richard Hampstead. The front is missing on that car, and now he's got to look at now what he's lost. He's behind Wayne Burke, and he's got his teammate Jake Maloney behind. So this is the scrap 7th, 8th and 9th now on the road. This is going to be an interesting little scrap, and well, the one thing you can say is that Richard Hampstead doesn't have to worry about cooling anymore in his vehicle, but maybe his temper might after that hit, because he felt like maybe he had nowhere to go. Those are the hard knocks of sim racing. Sometimes you're not in the right position, but for the time being, it's a case of now, I'm going to have to attack and defend at the same time here.
Yeah, it wasn't that high speed of an impact, so I don't think his left to right tracking or geometry of the car will be too out of shape. It's just that aero. He's really going to be punished down these straights, and I think, to be honest, it's going to be one of those situations where Berkey's going to tow him a lot and keep him in it, but if he loses the draft, he's just going to fall like an elevator with the cable car.
Exactly, and that's going to be always a tough challenge. The good thing to know about elevators and cables, though, is that they have 5 times as many cables as they actually need. There's the fun fact of the day. But at this point in time, though, there is some brilliant work going on. Jack Widders, though, still having to defend in his battle at the moment. You can see the train snaking up the hill and going along, and now they're starting to just splinter off again, but the more that they fight, the more they're going to drop, and already to Harley Haber there, who's in 14th place. They're down 3 seconds to Adam Briggs. They're down 6 seconds.
Yeah, that's it. You can't afford to take too big a losses at this track. The lap time's so short, and even though it's a 36-lap race, it's only really 40 minutes. You don't have a huge amount of time to gain it all back. But someone who is gaining it all back is Madison Down. The last 2 laps, he's been a couple tenths faster than our leaders. And I would expect, if we're going to be pitting in this race, that Madison Down will attempt an undercut. But taking a look back down to Kurt Stenberg now, he's having a bit of a fight with Jack Widders. Almost had a move down into the chicane, but a little bit of front to rear contact.
Front to rear not helping, but look at the run through the final corner. Oh, he used all his road tax, moves to the inside. Widdes not defending it. Also, Hinsey trying to find an angle to the inside, but look at Jack Widdes using the outside line, the racing line with the rubbered in track there as part of iRacing's dynamic track system, making the move work and holding on to the position there. So you really don't want to be catching yourself on the marbles, but marbles tend to not be coming along until the mid part to late part of this race. Yes, there's 28 cars running around on this track. Something to worth note as well here at this point in time, Burton. No retirements as of yet.
Yeah, as I said at the start, Sperry, been a really, really clean race so far. As I say, I don't want to put the jinx on them, but really good. And I will note, Madison down another 4/10 out of our race leaders last time by. Knowing Madison down and how he likes to play things, he'll know that when he catches these guys, he'll just hit that buffer and not be able to pass. So I'm expecting a bit of an undercut here at this pit stop for Madison down. I don't think it'll be any time in the next couple of laps, but I'm expecting him to pit a heck of a lot earlier than our race leaders.
Well, we're just about getting to the opening of the pit stop window. Lap 13 here, out of 36 onto lap 14. So into the second third of this race. This is the money third, some would say. This is where you make sure that you're putting yourself in position. Look at Thomas Hinds right now in car number 11. He's around and down at the final corner. He was 3 wide almost going through Johnstone, forcing him off the road as he went on through. And when you're on the grass, there's no way to save it. Bang into the tyres he went. And ultimately now he's got the longest road of recovery out of any of these drivers. And they're still fighting side by side here. This is McKnight, and I believe that is going to be Johnstone again, having to take a little quickie over the top. There is Christian Smart, his own teammate there, almost putting himself in position. Here comes Clinton Bryan.
Yeah, you got a feel for Hinsey in that situation. Unfortunately, when you're 3 wide coming down the S's and you're the guy on the outside, there's not a lot you can do. And unfortunately, he's then smashed the brake pedal, which has just landed him in the fence. So that's a real shame for Hinsey. I'm sure we'll be able to see his frustration as the race goes on. But like you said, Sperry, it's still on behind between these guys. But for the most part, Damien Johnston seems to be safe.
He seems to be safe. He's found himself a nice even at this moment in time. He's just got to get his head back into the game around this place. First pitter comes in. It's Jordan Caruso making the call then from 4th position. That's a bold call, but one that I thought would have been the first driver or one of the first to come in, because he was starting to drop back from Madison down, needed to be on his own, and he thought, well, if I'm going to get anywhere near Madison and Scott and Webster, I've got to come in early.
Thing is though, Sperry, if you're struggling to make your tyres last 15, he's now just sentenced himself to trying to do 21 on another set of tyres. So I don't think it's going to be the easiest road for Jordan Caruso. And there was quite a margin to Madison down, and we're expecting Madison to probably pit early anyway. So I'm not sure how effective that undercut's going to be. I think its use is moreover probably going to be defending from cars behind.
Well, you got to look behind. Jack Boyd, Brady Myers, and the Burke Hampstead Maloney train. Those are going to be the cars that Caruso's going to be trying to defend with. It's still on for the race lead, though, ladies and gentlemen. Cooper Webster and James Scott here on lap 15 look in the mirrors, and they see just slowly approaching up to them within a second now is that Trans-Tasman racing car of Madison down at this point in time. Tom Freer, though, at this moment, looking like he was going to have a little bit of in time. He's trying to find a way by Scott Kozlowski at the moment. Good run down the hill then from the pursuit man, trying to get himself going. He's now into 11th position, hoping for a top 10 after Caruso stopped, but not close enough yet on the Trick Esports drive into turn 1.
Looks like we've had a bit of a drama back in the field with Jamie McKnight as well. These 2 wide managed to get it clear with Christian Smart. Now they go into turn 1. Defensive line from McKnight. Christian Smart tries for a bit of an over-under, but well parked by Jamie McKnight there. Brian Ward looking on, trying to make a bit of a move.
Yeah, he's trying every which way to look and make those positions, as some in the mid to late field start to make their stops as well. Not quite in position. Up the hill they go into the next left-hander. No dice at this point in time, but watch out for the run down to the prime overtaking opportunity out on track. That may be where we see the move being done. But again, race leaders still making their way through. Half distance will be score complete in the next 2 laps of this race. They're on start lap 17, and James Scott and Madison Down come in at exactly the same time. They're going to leave Cooper Webster out there on an island.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, as we said early, Sperry, James Scott behind Cooper Webster, and now with an undercut, I think is almost certainly going to take the lead, having probably saved a bit of fuel here. I just feel so bad for Madison Down. He was so much faster in the last few laps, and then sort of once he got within sort of a second, that was really when his pace sort of started to plateau. It's been the story of Madison's season. He's teased us so much by getting so close to getting involved in that lead fight, but not quite being able to get there. So let's hope he gets a fast stop, comes out with James Scott.
Also in, Boyd, Burke, Maloney, Freer, Ellis, Stenberg, Smith, Tander, Hanlon, all in. Hinsey in as well. Out and away. First goes Madison. He was quicker on the stop, and it's going to be a battle here as they go through. And Madison Downs just jumped it. So James Scott's got that one working. And look at where Caruso is now. Caruso's right behind them.
Yeah, that's it. So Jordan Caruso, obviously with a 2-lap undercut here, I don't think he's really going to be able to stay with.
How close is he going to get there through the SS section? You don't get much closer than that there, Burton.
Yeah, he was really tucked up underneath James Scott. He thought about the move into the right-hander, but couldn't quite get it done. And as I say, now that James Scott settled in with those new tyres, I think he's probably just going to pull away from Jordan Caruso. But the car we really want to be watching is our race leader, Cooper Webster, who has come down into the lane to react to those leaders trying to undercut him. I would not be surprised if we saw Madison Down come out in the lead out of this.
We'll see. Richard Hampstead takes the race lead then, as everybody else behind coming in. So Widders and Haber and Briggs and Sislowski and Myers all in on the lane. McKnight stays out, Borg stays out, Janssen stays out, as does Wayne Hewitt. But here come the leading trio at this moment down the hill through turn 11 into turn 12 and looking to try and put the power down. Where is Cooper Webster? He's still down on the lane. He finally gets released off the jacks. There goes Madison Down. He's through. Look at where one Mr. James Scott is. He's through. Webster is back into third place. It's a 4-car fight now for the race lead, and it's James Scott getting it all wrong, and Madison may just get a second in a moment.
Yes, though, Sperry, that's a fairly reasonable undercut expectation from James Scott. He sort of made 6/10 on Cooper Webster, because don't forget, he was behind Cooper Webster when he made that pit stop call. Madison Down, however, he took a lot less time in the pits than what James Scott has. So I think Madison Downs maybe thought, hey, I'm super sick of catching you guys late in the race and not being able to do anything. I'm going to throw no fuel in this thing, get the lead, and then try and save from there. So I think this race is far from over. I think unless James Scott and Webster made a mistake in the pits, it's got to be a tough fuel battle from Madison Down from here on.
It's going to be tough for Caruso. He took the least amount of fuel in the pits. Battle going on behind as Scott Sislowski's lost out in the stops to Tom Freer. But here is Harley Haber, who's closed up onto the rear of this one. So now he looks to the outside of 10A, 10B. He's got the inside for 9. This is going to be a tough way to make this move. Sislowski's going to defend this one every stage of the way. Who's the last of the late breakers? Haber was slightly later on it, but he's going to have to track wide. And he's got the inside for the next section. And he's just got an overlap to get the move done.
And he's going to pit immediately, is Harley Haber at none.
It's
suspended in pit lane or done something funny.
Well, probably speeding on pit exit there would have been the cost. So Harley Haber again gets himself caught up, made the move, decided to come back down in and make the stop one more time. So that is a huge hurt for the way that the race is going to be run. Only 2 drivers yet to make their stops here on lap 19, and those 2 drivers are Brian Borg and Richard Hampstead at this moment in time, and Hampstead will go for lap 20 here out in this race. On though for second, Scott and Webster. 1 lap pressure tyres as he looks to tuck up underneath, make sure that he's not going to fall away from Madison Down at this moment in time. You can see he will want to move to that inside, and he's going to leave just enough room to make sure that James Scott has an avenue. But here's Webster trying to get it done. Scott's fighting hard though. He goes slightly too deep, and around the outside, Webster up to second.
And that was absolutely beautiful in the rearview mirror for Madison Down. That is exactly what Madison wants to see. That is draft now broken. That race lead that, effective race lead rather, is now a 2.5 for Madison Down. So that is exactly what he wants to see, especially if he has to save some fuel to get home.
And that's going to be the key. Madison Down needs a gap in order to fuel save, and you can fuel save well around here. Here's another one, Jake Maloney out on it with Wayne Burke. This one, 9th and 10th on the road at the moment. They're not a million miles away from drivers that they're trying to fight against, but up the hill they come along. Burke having to defend. He started 9th, he's in 9th. Maloney started 10th, he's in 10th at the moment, but both will gain positions through Borg and maybe Hampstead as well. But Maloney trying to make the move here into the right of turn number 6, that is. And if these two keep fighting like this, maybe Hampstead's not going to lose as much as maybe he thinks he is, as he's going to dive down in, come in for his stop.
Yeah, that's it. I think Maloney's probably going to have a bit of a run here. He's got a run here on Wayne Burke. He's going to be able to get it done with a bit of confidence under brakes. Maloney is a great race driver at this circuit. I had an awesome fight here with him in 2016, and here he goes down the brakes. Really, really easy done there. Gets it pulled up. Textbook from Maloney.
Absolutely textbook, and of course you also had another fantastic fight with one Mr. Richard Hampstead in 2018, which didn't end up the way that either of you two really did desire, but enough about that said, the better at this point. But you got to see this. Hampstead's been in the pits for a pretty long time as he gets himself going. You can see how much he's lost then on stop, as he's got himself about the same in terms of time, but look at where he's going to come out here. He's going to come out with Lee Ellis.
Yeah, the overcut will be what Richards is hoping for here. Obviously, he's dealing with that little bit of front end damage, so I think his race is all but sort of over. I think he's giving himself a bit of a tyre advantage, so if he does see a bit of an opportunity, he can fight with it. But I think Richard will just be settling in now into that sort of P6, P7 area.
Keep an eye on this race lead battle. Madison Down dropped 2/10 that last time by. The gap is 1.4 as Cooper Webster is going to try and do exactly what he did a week ago and get himself closing it down. And he's closing it down more because the gap's down to 1.1 seconds now out on track. You can see 1.1 exactly here on the graphics at the bottom of your screen. There are 15 laps when they cross the line. It's going to be green all the way here, and the Panther Fuels car trying to chase down the Virtual Racing School car as they head themselves through towards another lap, and there is the confirmation of the gap. It's now the race lead, 1.1 seconds, the margin here at the front.
Yeah, that's it. I think this is going to be an interesting one. I think the TTR cars have had slightly better tyre life the last few weeks than the ERT cars, but the ERT cars have just had really good outright pace, and I think we're seeing that at the moment here. Cooper Webster using his one tyre advantage and his fresh green Dunlops here to try and get back into Madison Down's toe. But I think making that move is actually going to be quite tricky. We saw in the last stint, while Cooper Webster was leading, that Madison Down was able to pull him in without a draft. So we know that TTR Commodore's got pace. It's just a matter of whether he can keep Cooper behind him and make sure he's got enough fuel to get to the end.
Well, we'll see how that one plays out. We've got other battles out on track, though. We've got Michael Rosenblatt here with Damien Johnstone, Christian Smart and Jamie McKnight. It's almost like, hey, come join us and welcome to the Valvoline Sponsorship Club at this moment in time for Michael Rosenblatt, because you've got two Gone Road cars and a United car behind.
And that's it. Really cool to see Valvoline involving themselves with multiple sim teams. We love the sponsors, especially our own broadcast sponsors who are jumping on board as well.
Absolutely, we do. Motum Simulations, of course, on the replays for us here, as they traditionally are. So some brilliant work that they put in and help us out with at this point in time. It is so close to 1 second at the front. A 10th taken off again by Cooper Webster, but he's still not within the 1 second window that he needs to start closing that gap. Madison is doing everything while saving that little bit of fuel, lifting ever so slightly, coasting ever so slightly through every single section.
Yeah, I've taken a bit of a ride on board with Madison these last couple of laps. I don't think he's doing too much of that. If he is, he's not doing very much, so I don't think he's underfueled too badly. I think he's pretty safe at the moment. I think Cooper is just getting a bit of a sniff of that toe, and I think Madison's got to accept that with the draft being so strong down the back straight here, Cooper is going to get close, but whether or not he can get close and then pass Madison down with only 13 laps to go coming up is another question.
That certainly is. Here's another question coming up for you, Burton. Jordan Caruso, half a second slower than anybody around him that last time by. He is very soon going to fall into the clutches of Brady Myers. I'm pretty sure here it's going to be a case for Jordan of, well, how long can he survive being the first man to come in on lap 15?
Yeah, well, I said this when he pitted. I didn't think that was necessarily a smart call from Caruso. That car was really, really struggling to keep its tyres on it in the first stint, and now he's asking those tyres to do another 6 laps in addition to what he already did. So I think he will quite rapidly fall into the clutches of Brady Myers. Myers, of course, was one of the later pitters in the group, I think, pitting on lap 18. So he's got, 4 laps of better tyres than what Caruso does.
Well, 4 laps better tyres is all you need to know at the moment as these battles all continuing at this point in time. We're looking at Brian Borg on the back of Clint Shane Smith. You can tell it's Clint Shane Smith. It says Smith on the rear spoiler. You can't miss it as you go through in towards the right there. Turn number 1, looking for the run up the hill towards 2, this small kink left, and then turn 3, the right, and there, sideways a little bit goes 1, missed to Clint Shane Smith, and Borg's going to go for it down here at the S's. You don't see this one very often, and a little bit of room having to be given, but Clint's going to have to lift off of that one there. Brian Borg with a bold move.
Yeah, it was a big move, Sperry, but Brian Borg was actually the last of our pitters, so he's got 4 lap old tyres, whereas Clint Smith looking at about 8 laps old tyres now, and Cooper Webster pulling in that margin at the front, now down to 6/10 for that race lead, or 7/10 rather for that race lead. It's getting tighter and tighter, but something I just wanted to comment on, which I know our director Jay will like to hear. He's very nostalgic. He commented on Clint Smith's having Smith underneath the rear wing. Unfortunately, these cars don't allow for it too much, Sperry, but back in the day, that sort of thing was staple for our series. Everyone had their last name or nickname on the nose of the car and underneath the rear wing. I'm living in the past, so I still have it on mine, as is Clint Smith, but I kind of missed the days where we had names on the front and back of the cars.
Well, that's a little trip into the past, but Madison Down now will have to play the defensive card here at the front of the field, but he is just holding Cooper Webster to an arm's length at this moment in time. Yes, that gap's close, and remember as well, Cooper Webster is struggling to shake off James Scott. Yes, that time was quicker last time by than what Scott was able to do, but James Scott still within a second, still the championship leader, playing damage limitation and doing only what is needed to keep in eyesight the drivers that are in front. On the brakes again to the left-right chicane, and again they are not going to be close enough to be seeing any momentum changes or any move changes here in this one at the moment. Keep an eye on that gap. It was 3/4 of a second. The gap now becomes just a little bit higher, ever so slightly, just 12 thousandths improvement there for Madison Down to keep himself there. The consistency over the long stint, that's where Madison has been keeping himself in this race.
Yeah, what did we say, Sperry? Madison, he had really good tyre life last stint, so I think getting that track position was such a good call from Madison Down there. But it looks like we've had an issue back in the field with Scott Cisloski. Looks like he's battling hard with Tom Freer at the moment. I think gave that position up last time by, trying to attack.
He's trying to get that move, but at the moment, Scott Cisloski is not finding a way past the pursuit man, Tom Freer, who's up in 5th position in the championship. He's having a really good run this season and starting to showcase the pace and the promise that he has when he was scouted out by Team Hyperdrive in the back end, or in the early end of last year. So looking for a really good run at the moment. On the brakes he goes into the next right-hander, and now down the long straight he comes along with a couple of little turns in B and tween, but at this point in time, Scott Cisloski, I think, is just waiting for the one move to make it decisive. We're getting to that stage here where they've got 10 to go at the line, and they know that they're not going to get close to Adam Briggs. He's 3 seconds down the road. They've got 8 seconds back to Jack Widders. They can only focus on one thing, this one scrap.
Yeah, that's it. If I can take a look sort of in the middle of the field at the moment, I'm super impressed by Richard Hansett. I made the comment when he came out of the pits that he was going to be fairly vulnerable. He has reeled Wayne Burke in something chronic. Richard's been running mid to high 18s, which with the aero damage that car has is insanely fast, and he might not even be able to make a move on Berkey in the next lap or two and make his way further into the top 10.
He certainly has the pace to do so, but he's looking for 8th position at this moment, and Wayne Burke knows it as they now head onto the brakes into the next right to turn 6. So many drivers yesterday caught the outside trying to gain as much entry as possible into that corner, then into 7, which if you do go offline, you're going to be in a whole world of hurt. It is off camber down there, but now you start looking down this straight, and all of a sudden you can see Richard Hampstead stuck at a margin and just not able to get close enough to make that one work. So he's just going to be playing that waiting game down the hill on the brakes. He's going to get into the mirrors though, so Hampstead's now pretty much one of the students of the game. He's been here for a very long time, and look at this, he's going to pick it up on the excellent 10B here, trying to get a nose down to the inside. It's a great run through this section, and he's got the move done.
Yeah, really, really cool. With the aero damage that he's suffering, that is an awesome move to make from Richard Hampstead. It's going to make it really hard to defend if Berkey comes back at him, but I'm super impressed with his pace considering the damage he's got.
Exactly, and that is the key then to the way this race is run. You've got to pick up the 1 position here and the 1 position there. A lot of work for Richard Hampstead. Next up, Jake Maloney's running equal times here as he's trying to chase down Jack Boyd. That gap 0.8 of a second between these two drivers as they are going on out on track. So they've got to keep that in mind the longer that this race does go on here. They've got this little scrap to try and work on at the moment. Caruso as well has found a level in terms of his pace, but he's also got a Brady Meyer 7/10 behind him.
Yeah, that's it. I think Brady's probably going to eat Caruso up. He's got much younger tyres, and I think he's definitely going to get it done. But taking a look up to our lead fight, Cooper Webster brought in 2/10 that last lap on Madison Down. The laps are running out, though. We're going to be 8 to go this time by. Let's take a look at these margins over the line. Madison, the slowest of the 3 last lap, a 1.20 from Madison, and Cooper back down to a 2.27. So again, that tyre life really proving well for Madison Down. James Scott, the fastest of the top 3, though, making it a 1.5 second top 3.
Yeah, they can see it, an 18.9 from James Scott. He's still got life in the tyres yet. He may still find a position yet as this race starts to head towards its conclusion. But Brady Myers, though, here in the battle for 4th and 5th. Caruso has mirrors full of Altus as he heads through the left, but there is a missed apex going on. We need a replay here in just a moment's time, apparently what we're hearing, but you can see right now Brady Myers is just trying to gear this one up, but that turn 5 has cost him maybe a chance of a run here to get this one going. Needs a great turn 7, Burton, and it's mediocre.
Yeah, the problem is that big slide there, Sperry, will have hyperheated those tyres a little bit. Brady is going to have to just calm down a little bit for a lap or two and then maybe try have a go at Caruso in the next few laps. Oh, does look good, though. That Altus car has some straight line. He could think about it, and he does. That's a big dive. He's going to struggle to pull it up, but does. Awesome move by Brady Myers.
Great move by Myers. We were just seeing what the incident between Rosenblatt and Smart there. Smart got a turn around, but that was a very, very good overtake there, and it was well worked to get that one done. So Brady Myers up now into 4th position ahead of Jordan Caruso out on track. That's important here for the way this is run. More battling going on as look at this from Scott Kozlowski trying to angle a nose to the inside, sliding the car down the hill over the bumps, and now onto lap 30 of 36 with 7 laps remaining, and all of a sudden Tom Freer now tees behind. Okay, we've been battling for a little bit. I've been defending well, but I think Scott's just testing the water, just dipping the foot in, waiting for the move.
Yeah, that's it. The back straight is going to be his best bet. Just monitoring this lead battle again. Madison Down slower than Cooper Webster, but not much in it that last lap. But once again, the fastest of the 3, James Scott. I feel like I'm saying it every week, but I'm so impressed with James Scott. He manages to fight his way into these championships, even if he doesn't quite have the race pace, by just being so consistent and making no mistakes. It had him beat Harley Haber last season, and it's putting him in contention once again, just getting these consistent results.
Exactly, and this is where James Scott continues to prove just how good he is at the moment. Down the hill once more. They've got 6 laps now to try and get this done, and the gap is staying at around 0.8 of a second now, down to 3/4, another 10th taken off for Cooper Webster. But 10th here and 10th there are not going to get the job done right now here, Burton. You need to be up within 2-3 tenths. You're almost hoping that Madison Down does the one thing that he has not done over 31 laps so far this race here, and that's make a mistake.
Yeah, that's it. I think Madison's just controlling the race at the moment. When it comes to leading races on a Monday night over the last few years, he's done it more than anyone else ever has, even if it hasn't been for a few years now. So I'm super impressed with Madison Down at the moment. Awesome call to get that undercut, take a little bit less fuel, and then just manage the race with the track position. The track position is what he hasn't had the last few weeks, and now he's finally got it. As long as he doesn't make any mistakes, it's going to win him a race.
Exactly, and that's the key. No mistakes from now to the end. And I think a lot of drivers here today who have been looking for results have been looking at no mistakes and seeing how it has not worked out for them by a mistake here, by a mistake there. And I think a few drivers will feel this was a missed opportunity with only 4 rounds left in the championship heading on into next week. But now you are starting to see here the final stages of this race. What's the gap for Madison this time as he crosses the line? It was 7 tenths, now almost 9. He does an 18.9 at this time, where the 18.9s were starting to dry up here, Burton. That is a crucial lap time to find an 18.9 on lap 31. He's found a nice rhythm. They've been trading 18.8 and 18.9s all the way up to 19.1s, 19.2s, all the way since lap 21 of this stint. That is 10 laps of consistency within 4 tenths of each other. That's how hard they're pushing.
That's it, and this is one of the things that makes Madison Down such a driver. You get the same kind of characteristics out of Jared Fieldcell. All the great champions of Australian sim racing do it. When you're able, with no draft and slightly older tyres at this point in the race, right when Cooper Webster gets a sniff and starts to get near, to be able to put out a lap time like that and just blow him away by 2 tenths, it's straight up demoralising for the car that's chasing, and really makes a statement that Madison Down's confident and he's ready to win this race.
Talking of drivers sniffing about, look at Jake Maloney. He's pulled the gap to Jack Boyd under 4 tenths of a second now and is starting to use the draft, but both of them closing in on Caruso and Myers at 1.4 seconds down the road. Caruso on very light fuel, now will have to be trying to fuel save his way home, and Jack Boyd and Jake Maloney are bearing down with fangs and everything else that's there, and it seems like it's time to get the claws out here because we've got 4 laps to go, and all of a sudden Maloney could have a top 5 after starting today in 10th position.
Yeah, they're absolutely reeling in Caruso. Not a good lap from Caruso. A 19.7, almost a 19.8 to Boyd's 2 and to Maloney's flat. So these two behind are absolutely flying, and it's a bit of a reverse fastest to the rear sort of situation going on here. I know Maloney struggled a little bit in qualifying, wouldn't have got the result he quite wanted. He's currently up 3, which with how our race has been today is actually quite a big difference. It's one of the bigger changes we've seen in the field. He'll really want to be making up another 2.
In terms of the biggest mover, that is Steve Janssen at the moment. He is up an incredible 6 places so far today, which doesn't sound like much, but it could be 7 as he fights Clint Shane Smith. But back to this fight going on. 4th, 5th, 4th, 6th, 4th, 7th position. Caruso under pressure, and he's going to let them go here. He's going to let one go at least here down the stretch. He's going to let the other one as well. So this is a case to be made here. Jordan Caruso's light on the fuel. It's 2 for 1 though for Jake Maloney down the inside. Oh, what a move. And he holds it up as well. But it's not over and done with here. Boyd's going to try and get the run off for the exit, but he's not quite there. Gets grass as well, trying to cut the line as much as possible. That's a move and a half from Jake Maloney.
That's as absolutely late as you dare going down there. There was not much in that. He made that first apex, but when he made that apex, he was facing the gravel. Really, really cool move from Maloney, but exactly the sort of stuff that we expect from Maloney. Big surprising moves, and does manage to pull it up as we check it out on the motor read.
Exactly, that's the key. You can see behind this is what it looks like here. You can see a little bit of correction there in the tyres from one Jack Boyd trying to make his way through in that Conroe car, and ultimately as we keep an eye on that rear, he is starting to pull away. Madison Down though has the 1 second. That's going to be the key here, as Jordan Caruso is really struggling. This is pretty much fuel minus 100, lift and coast, maybe 300 meters at this point to get it home. He knows he's underfueled that car by maybe a lap too much, and he's trying everything to bring that car home and dry. Hampstead, freshest tyres of all. Well, that is the easiest move he will ever make in sim racing.
Yeah, that's it. I think Richard can actually be quite happy that that's happened. He's managed to profit nicely from that and go up a few positions after his nightmare early with that Harley-Haber crash. Great recovery from him. But yeah, Caruso's in trouble. There's no way that you save and lift like that unless you're not, milliliters in trouble, as in litres in trouble. So he's really going to struggle to make the end of this race.
He absolutely is. Wayne Burke's made a way through as well. 2 laps to go, and Cooper Webster, instead of looking forward now here, Burton, he might just be looking behind, because there's James Scott, only half a second back at this moment in time. It is the 2 stars that were looking to prop up one team, that being Evolution Racing Team. Of course, though, the driver behind Webster has made that jump over the last few days to go to Altus. This is old team versus new team.
Yeah, that's it. And Altus has a lot of young guns who are very, very quick that, a lot of them are very consistent as well. But I think for some of their drivers, pace is a little bit better than what the racecraft is. James Scott, I actually thinks the opposite. His racecraft, especially in this official series, has been really, really impressive. So I think he'll be welcome to that team. And really, really excited to see if he can take it to Cooper Webster here. The pace certainly looks like it will, but Cooper still does have a sniff of Madison Down's toe, which is going to make it harder each lap for James Scott to get a run.
1 lap remains here at Road Atlanta. Madison Down at an arm's length has an entire second to play with here as they go on towards turn number 1. Webster looking behind here, hoping that Madison finds the rare mistake on the last lap. James Scott just there in 3rd position, hoping that he finds more than losing 2 places after a pole position here today. This is going to be a tough little scrap. And as well, you've got that story of Jordan Caruso falling here late as he's struggling to get up the gears. 190 Ks only on the front stretch. You look at the drivers like Cooper Webster, they're already up 240 here as they're heading towards the next right-hander of turn 6. Madison Down pretty much walking away, just needs a nice 10A, 10B for his race win. But look at James Scott. He's got himself in a position now where he can go and make the move. He is close enough to go out there and attack. And maybe if he is brave enough, he can dive for it. The gap there, just 3 car lengths between them. 2.5 now closing. 2 car lengths now closing. How brave do you go here, James, on the brakes? He's going to try and give it everything, but he's not close enough then through the left and the right. Try and open it up on the exit maybe, but he's out of road. Madison Down is going to really kick on here with 4 rounds remaining. He wins when he needs to at Road Atlanta. It is Webster in 2nd, who has no drop rounds to his name, and James Scott, who comes home in 3rd. Caruso is out of fuel here as he's heading through, and we've got great battles going on. John Stone McKnight and Darren Lobb also out of fuel as well. So it's a case of diminishing returns for those who are going to try and get through. And remember, it's uphill out of 10B, but downhill all the way to the line.
That's it. It just takes my mind back to Road Atlanta a few years ago where John Latham ran out of fuel on this back straight and just went straight ahead here at the chicane to try and finish the race earlier. But Jordan Caruso not going to do that. Shame for him. However, Damian Johnston is going to do that.
Doing the same thing.
Awesome race from Jordan Caruso up until he ran out of fuel. He went wild with strategy and thought he might have something done. But real shame that these guys are without fuel.
He's going to try and get him, and Hinty gets 1 at least. So Caruso is beaten by Thomas Hinds, and they go through. And look at this for sportsmanship here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at Brian Borg. He is pushing Darren Lobb home over the line, and that is what you like to see. Sim racers wanting to see everybody make it home and everybody finish.
Yeah, that's it. And the yellow light is flashing on the back of Darren Lobb's car, which means that just isn't out of fuel. The engine has stopped and will not turn on ever again. So Brian Borg is going to have to push him all the way home, probably over the crest of this hill, if he wants to get that thing home and let gravity do the rest. But really interesting fuel race. Interesting to see so many guys run out of fuel. I don't think I've ever seen that. But super, super stoked for Madison Down. I called him out on Twitter this afternoon saying, mate, you're the ghost of Monday night racing. You should be winning. And he's finally got one on the board.
He has one on the board. Official classified results then are as follows. 48 minutes and 6 seconds it took to determine a winner, and it was Madison Down after 36 laps of hard graft. He wins by 1 second over Cooper Webster, with James Scott in third, having to play damage limitation today after the pit stops. Brady Myers finishes this one in 4th position, with Jake Maloney in 5th. A great race from him, up 5 places. Jack Boyd gets 6th, exactly where he started, with Richard Hamstead on the freshest tyres of them all, with aero damage though, coming home in a very good and accomplished 7th place. 8th would go to Wayne Burke in car number 8. Lee Ellis up 4 places to 9th, as was Adam Briggs up 4 places to get a top 10 finish.
Quiet night over the page for Tom Freer in P11. Scott Sislowski, we saw him in quite a few fights, particularly with Jack Wittes, 12th and 13th, those two. Kurt Stenberg had a decent night in the office, had a mega save. I don't think we quite saw it, but when Zach Hanlon got into the back of him down at turn 1, that was some of the best car control I've seen from Stenny to bring it home in 14th. A rough night in the for Harley Haber after getting turned by Jack Boyd early in the race, with James Scott in the top 3 and Madison Down in P1. That is shocking for his championship. Absolute drop round in P15. Jamie McKnight, 16th. Clint Smith, 17th. Steve Janssen, one of our biggest movers of the night, up to 18th, with Michael Rosenblatt and Zachary Hanlon, 19th and 20th.
Damien Johnstone then gets 21st position, with Thomas Hinds 22nd. A lot of drivers here down the bottom running out of fuel. Jordan Caruso was up as high as 3rd position, 4th after the stops, but ultimately runs out of fuel. Got it horribly wrong on the calculations and ultimately falls to 23rd place. That is an iRacing drop of massive proportions for him. Christian Smart 24th, with Leon Tander 25th. They didn't move places, nor did Wayne Hewitt in 26th position. Darren Lobb runs out of fuel, 27th place, but he got a little bit of help over the line by Brian Borg, who was 5 laps down, nothing to lose. I might as well help Darren Lobb get over the line. Well, that's some brilliant racing that we have seen. And of course, we've got 4 rounds remaining here in this championship. And of course, with 270 points for that P1 that we've seen for Madison Down, 4,400 soft. If we get softs like that coming from now to the end of the season, this is going to be a close-fought championship. We head to Imola in a week's time, and Burton Imola is a track which really does bring fantastic racing. It is truly a track that is secretly built for supercars.
Yeah, that's it. It's really, really technical, and it's all about hopping chicanes. It's got a little bit of a Montreal feel to it. It's got a bit of a Gold Coast feel to it, but at the same time, it's got sort of your high speed, very Italian, nice, fast corners as well. It's really, really exciting. Good elevation change there too. I personally don't really like that track too much, but you're absolutely right in saying it's got awesome potential for racing. So really, really excited to see what these guys can do this next week. We're at the pointy end of the championship now, and that 270 points for Madison Down has certainly bought him a ticket into this championship. Next week, we're going to see those drop rounds starting to take effect, which is going to be quite interesting because he's been around Down just about all season. So really keen to see what happens at the end of this championship.
It's going to be keen. Of course, it's quite apt heading to Imola in May. Of course, the 26th anniversary of the passing of Ayrton Senna just a few days ago. So we pay our respects to the Senna family and everything that goes on around that. But on that note, a massive thanks to those who get it done for us here on the iRacing Esports Network, a SimSpeed TV presentation. The thanks go to Motum Simulations, who helped sponsor the replays for us here today. So, from Jay Kennedy, who's been on the cameras, from Jake Burton, who's been alongside me, I, of course, have been Jake Sperry. Madison Down is finding consistency in places where other drivers only dare to dream. A victory margin of a second doesn't matter. You win by an inch, you win by a mile. A win is a win is a win. But he is now starting to put the blocks together for the form that he had in 2010, in 2011, in 2012, because he knows better than anybody else how to close out an iRacing official championship. As we head to Imola in a week's time, this could be one of the good championships, the great championships that you see on the iRacing Esports Network. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top
Oh my
here!
god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?